Day 12, 75 refined. We did 4 books of the Bible in 12 days on the road to all 66 books in 75 days. We are well on our way. We just wrapped up the book of Numbers, a book that spans approximately 40 years. Of course, it's not the entire 40 years that's told in the book of Numbers, but it does cover a majority of it. Let's get into the quote of the day, which is here in the book every day. Different quote. If you have the journal, you don't have to follow along with the journal. You could just journal yourself. You could go to the website. If you go to thehighway.church and then click on the blog section, you'll see 75 Refined in there. And then you'll just have the whole program, which is laid out here in the beginning of the book, the whole program, firing up the furnace, the intro to it, and then the actual program itself. All of this is free on the website, thehighway.church, on the blog section. And so you can do that without having to buy the journal. If you want a copy of the journal, it is available on Amazon. You can buy it there. It's $19.99, and yeah, ships with free with Prime. So but anyways, if you have the journal, every day you'll see that there is a different quote on the prayer reflections. Oops, I'll try to zoom in there. This one's from Denzel Washington on day 41. But today's quote of the day for day 12 is from Charles Spurgeon, the Prince of Preachers. If heaven were by merit, it would not be heaven to me, but if it be of grace and not of works, then we may walk into heaven with boldness, because it's not about us, it's about Christ. We are saved by grace through faith and not of works, lest anyone should boast. Because if we can get in by just doing good deeds and just being good people, then Christ didn't have to die. All right, let's get into this. So a lot happens here as we wrap this up. So remember, the book of Numbers, which is in Hebrew, is it was in the wilderness. Um, Numbers is a majority of the 40-year wilderness period that we see that they had to wait before they could enter the promised land. And remember, they were not wandering because they were lost. They were delayed because they did not believe. So an entire generation had to die out, including Moses, because of Moses's uh, anger, really, because he disobeyed God. But God still led them, He still fed them, He still preserved them, despite their unbelief. He still did that for them. So as we get into chapters 25 and 26, we see Israel falls to Baal at Peor, and this is where the compromise and the other gods start coming in. External curses. So when Balaam went to curse them, that didn't work. So the external curses didn't work. So instead, they had to be compromised from the inside. And that was what happened. So anything that's leading you into idolatry has to be cut off, because it was the internal compromise that nearly destroyed them. It wasn't the external curses. Plague breaks out, Phineas acts, the covenant is defended, and then they get into a second census. But Mike, why did they need another census? They already did a census. Because these are the ones who are actually going into the promised land. During the first census, these were, one, it was for who was going to be fighting these battles, but two, it was the people who aren't getting in because of their unbelief, because they were like, oh, there's giants in the land, yada, 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 yada. So this new census is to find out, okay, who's actually making it? Who's actually coming in here? So the new generation is counted. The wilderness did exactly what God said it would do. It refined them a little bit. No, I mean, they still had some troubles as we got into with Baal. Um, we see God protecting the covenant land, inheritance promises. Joshua is appointed because, again, Moses is not going to enter. So Moses, the law, leads them out of Egypt, but Joshua leads them back in. And the through line here is in the name. Okay, the law can't do what Joshua can do. And the name Joshua, I mentioned this yesterday. Joshua, the Hebrew name for Joshua, Yehoshua. Why does that matter? Because the transliteration of Yehoshua into Aramaic is Yeshua. Well, Mike, why does that matter? Because the transliteration of Yeshua to Greek is Iesus. And the transliteration of Jesus into the Latin and then to eventually the English is Jesus. So the through line here is that Joshua, the name, is the same name in terms of transliteration, just a different path to Jesus. Same name, same root name, Yehoshua. Jesus' name would have been Yeshua, the Aramaic name, so the Aramaic version. So the through line here is that the law, Moses, could not get us into the promised land. It could get you out of Egypt, but it can't get you into the promised land. Who gets you into the promised land? Joshua. Joshua is the one who actually brings in the promise. We actually see this in Galatians. I'm going to pull it up right now, actually. In Galatians 3:24, it says, here it is. The law then was our guardian until Christ, so that we could be justified by faith. Another translation says the law is a schoolmaster to bring us to Christ. So, like, what does a schoolmaster do? What does the schoolmaster teaches you, right? The law teaches you. The law shows us that we are exceedingly sinful. That's what the law does. But the law as a schoolmaster teaches us about our sin, but that leads us to Christ, with whom we are saved by grace through faith. 28 to 36, we get feasts, we get offerings, we get worship, we get land boundaries, we get cities of refuges established, tribal inheritance is protected. God is specific, he lines things out, it's all structured. The big picture here is that Numbers begins with an army ready to go, and it ends with a new army prepared for the battle. The wilderness generation died out. The covenant did not die because God brought it through with a promise. And sometimes what's the old saying? It's escaping me, but it's about planting a tree that you'll never enjoy the shade of. I'm totally botching it, but that's the idea, right? Is that sometimes you will do things in your life that you will never see the fruit of, but other people will. The future people will. It could be something sowing into ministries, and I know in our town there were people who had been a part of sowing into trying to get a church started in this town for many, many generations, and it finally came into fruition eventually. It took a long time. People in this town did not want another church. We have a Catholic church, we have a Lutheran church. We don't need any other churches. Well, they did. All right. Compromise brings death, but discipline purifies. A new Joshua, these are the threads of Christ that we see in the Old Testament. Because remember, the Old Testament is leading to the new, it's all pointing to the new. A new Joshua, Yeshua, Jesus, Jesus leads us forward. He provides us refuge. Jesus fulfills what Numbers anticipates, that is the promised land, the true promised land. He will lead his people into the true inheritance. The time of the wilderness is not aimless, it's refining. Unbelief, delayed promise, but the promise endured. In the end, the promise definitely endures. So here we are. We wrapped up the book of Numbers. We're moving into Deuteronomy. And Deuteronomy is the last of the 5 books of Moses, also known as the Pentateuch, also known as the Torah. And the Torah is the law. After this, we get into the book of Joshua and then Judges, a lot of action happening in those books. Remember, we got 75 days and 66 books. We just did 4 books in 12 days. As we get into the New Testament, it kind of ramps up. You get more and more done in a shorter period of time. There are other books that are much shorter as well in the Old Testament. But yeah, we're gonna be powering through these. High level overview. Let me know what you're looking for, what you're looking to get out of these videos. If there's any questions that you have, throw them in the comments. Like the video. comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all of the things, all of the buttons. And yeah, let's get the conversation going in the comment section. What questions you have, what things you want to learn, what format you want these videos to fall, um, any of that kind of stuff. Right now, I'm just doing high level overview stuff. If you want me to do more drilling down into specific sections, I will. I'll get into some of the specifics as we open up Deuteronomy, which is tomorrow's reading. As we get into that, and Deuteronomy is only going to last us a couple days. We are in Deuteronomy days 13, 14, and 15. And in 15, we actually start the book of Joshua. So, kind of splitting it up. All right, that's all I have today. Praying for you guys. Super excited as we continue this journey together. Like I said, leave a comment below. Feel free to reach out to me if you have absolutely any questions, prayer requests, whatever it is. I'm here for you. Whatever you need. All right. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.